Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the October 20th meeting of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Board of Directors to order. And with that, I'll ask everyone to join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Vice President Ferryman.
Join me in prayer. Please, dear God, bless this august group and give us the strength and the wisdom to make good decisions for our constituency. Amen.
Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Assistant Secretary Robert Eaton.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer. Here. Vice President James Merriman.
Present.
President Michael Schaefer.
Here. Thank you. Any late communications, Scott?
Yes, Mr. President, we did receive a written communication from Mr. Mosier citing some corrections in the minutes. And I think, was there anything else? Yes, and comments about the August session meeting? Yes. Thank you.
Okay. In the record then? Thank you.
Scott, did you make copies of those changes, or what? Or those
In the minutes of the board meeting? Or
It was just one typographical error from as to had.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you. Any ceremonial matters this evening?
No, Mr. President.
Okay. Public comments. Time is set aside for persons to speak on items not on the agenda within our subject matter. And Mr. Mosier, you've indicated a desire to speak, so you're up.
Yes, correct. President Schaefer and members of the board, my name is Jim Mosier, and I have three non-agenda comments. The first one, I wanted to thank the district for continuing to post the agendas of your liaison committee meetings, such as the one you're going to have tomorrow at Mesa Water. I didn't check with the city or school district websites, but I did notice Mesa Water has caught on now, and they're also posting it on their website. And I think those meetings do involve things of interest to the community, and it's good for that agenda to be posted and available. The second comment I wanted to make is about the meeting date tonight. I believe we're gathered here a week earlier than one would guess from the operations code. The regular meetings are usually on the fourth Thursday, and this is the third Thursday. And I probably missed the meeting at which the change was made, but I wanted to remind you your operations code and common sense makes one think that when you have to change the meeting date, and this is strongly encouraged in the operations code, you try to hold the meeting after the normal date rather than before it. And I don't know if it was considered or not, but perhaps it could have been held a day after the normal date rather than a week earlier. I do not know what the circumstances were. Third comment I wanted to make is about elections. The district spent considerable effort on district mapping and so forth in the last year, and there's excellent coverage of that on the district website. What I don't see any coverage about is the election that's coming up in November. And while this is characteristic of special districts, that their websites tend to be silent about elections, it's not characteristic of other jurisdictions like cities. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find a California city website that would not tell the voters in that city that there was an election coming up on November 6th and who the candidates were and what their statements are. The district website just directs people, as other district websites and the school district website even do, to try to find that information on the Orange County Registrar of Voters website, and it's not very accessible there. It's hard to find out who the candidates are in a special election and to see their statements and yours. So if the district wants to continue to be a front runner in the idea of transparency, it would be very good to follow the model of what cities do and actually have a list of candidates and where you can find information about them. Thank you.
Something to consider, Scott. Mr. Mosier, I'll just clarify the meeting being moved up. We did decide to do it this evening because all of us will be in attendance at the California Special Districts Association annual conference next week. and it was not practical. I agree with you that moving it ahead is a better idea, but if we move it ahead, it'd be in October, since timing didn't work out. But I appreciate your comments very much. Okay, seeing no one else from the public, we'll move to the consent calendar. Any discussion?
Move for approval.
I have a question on the
Pull an item?
investment report,
Okay, so we'll pull
the very last item.
item 9. Okay.
Move for approval 1 through 8.
Motions or a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimous. Item 9, Director Uten.
Well, in the investment report, it shows, it gives a very good explanation about what the reserves are. It has an item in there called, and it breaks out the funds for the solid waste fund, the wastewater fund, and 3 other funds. In the wastewater fund, it shows that the undesignated amount, which is basically to pay for the organics program, it shows a negative amount. Or it has parentheses around it. I assume that means it's a negative amount. And does that mean the fund doesn't have any money? Mark, I guess you wrote
Mark's
this
smiling,
report.
so I think he wants to respond.
I was just trying to find where you're looking at. So you're looking at page 1 of the investment report, and it's
Yes.
actually under the solid waste fund where the
Yeah.
undesignated showing
Yes.
737,000 negative. And so, no, that does not mean that there's no cash. What that means is 2 things. One, we are in our period of time to where we have no revenue coming in.
Oh.
And so we had designated funds for this dry period of 2.9
Yes.
million. That's what we
Right.
believe our burn rate's going to be from
Right.
July through November.
Okay.
And so as we get closer and closer to the end of November timeframe, when the first allocation will come in, that negative number will get bigger. And then
Okay.
once the allocations come in, then it goes back positive again. It will stay positive the rest of the year.
So
until we get to
so
the
you're
end
not
of this.
you're not decreasing the dry period
No.
period fund for the organics.
No, we have not.
I got it. Okay.
We certainly could, going forward, decrease that amount designated for the revenue dry period on a monthly basis, and only show what would be left of the dry period. We could certainly do that. That might be a little
Okay.
bit more accurate presentation.
So the money from the county comes in the end of November.
A little bit comes in the end of November. The big
Most of it in December.
Most of it comes in after citizens pay the property tax December
So
10th.
so we have okay. I understand that now. I should go back to look at my accounting 101 book.
I'll move for approval of number 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the investment report, item 9. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. We have no public hearings tonight. Under the general manager's report, we have a request to move item 5 up to the beginning so that the person reporting doesn't have to be around for the whole thing. So, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. Diana Borjorski is going to be giving this report.
Good evening, President Schaefer and Board. This report is in consideration of approving CMSD holiday hours and closures. Historically, the district has revised its operational hours around the holidays. The day before Thanksgiving, that Wednesday, the district has closed at noon to allow staff that are traveling to get to their destination and in preparation for the holiday. And staff can voluntarily choose to work that full day, or they can end their day at noon. But if they do take the time off, then they'll take their accrued leave time, which would include vacation, floating holiday, executive leave, or comp time. So Christmas and New Year's this year both fall on a Tuesday. And so in the past, yard staff prefers to work a half day prior to the holiday. And staff at HQ have preferred to take the whole day off. But again, they would be using their leave time, their accrued leave time. And then the district would be closed. Proposed times would be December 24th for the day, that would be Monday, and then, of course, December 25th, Christmas Day, and then December 31st. We're proposing that the district be closed on that Monday, and then the holiday would be Tuesday for those full days. So at this time, 2 employees have already requested the full day off for December 24th. They'd take vacation time, and then 4 employees at headquarters are taking vacation days already on December 31st. So it would be optional to the employee whether they wanted to stay. The district would be closed, but they could work during those hours if they chose to.
Just one real quick comment, Art. I appreciate under the financial review pointing out the fact that we will have reductions in the heating and air conditioning cost. I think that's, and once we have the solar going, we won't have to worry about it anyway, right?
Right.
Sorry, Art.
It's okay. I just had a question. We never want to leave anybody here with just one person, right?
We try not to.
That's what I mean. So
yeah.
what happens if we just have one person that wants to work? We wouldn't let them?
You know, it's
Safety reasons, you know?
it's more. I think it's more of a concern if it's late at night. If they're here during the day and everything's locked up, you know, I'm fine with that. But of course, if they're concerned about that, you know, being on the one, then right, they don't have to be there. They're concerned for their safety.
So the office would be closed, but they can still work, is what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes. Yes.
Have we done that in the past?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Bob?
So Diane, if a staff member chooses to take that half day off before Thanksgiving, that's on their time?
Yes.
So basically, all we're doing really is, as a board, is granting the staff the ability to have their half day off. I mean, I don't really see the logic for why we have to even talk about this.
Well, we would have to close. We're proposing that the district offices close at 12 noon as opposed to 4:30 on that day.
Okay, so that would be something that the present code doesn't allow, the operations code. So maybe we ought to amend the operations code. Because basically, if staff want to take half day off or all day off, it's on their own time.
Yes,
Yeah.
it would be on their own time.
Yeah.
But we still have to man the facility if we're open to the public for half a day.
Yes,
You
until
know.
12 o'clock noon. If
Have we ever come to a situation where we had no one willing to work?
No. Because some people don't want to use their vacation or leave time during that time. I do want to mention that Assistant Secretary Uten, there's a good suggestion. If we come back with amending the codes, then because tradition every year we've always came to the board for direction and approval to change the hours during the holidays. If we amend the code, like Assistant Secretary Uten mentioned, then we don't have to do this every year.
I have one other question. Have we compared ourselves to like the city of Costa Mesa? They do the same thing, or?
They close the entire week down.
Oh,
They're
okay.
shutting off the entire week.
Well, between
Okay.
Christmas and New Year's, the city is essentially shut down.
That answers my question.
It's probably not the only week they're shut down, but
Hey,
So would you want to withdraw that, Director Perry?
Oh, I wasn't
What?
making it, I
I'm
just
just
made
kidding.
a question. It wasn't a statement. Just, do we need a motion for this?
Yes, please.
this is an action item.
I make the motion that approve staff recommendation.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Diana, very much. All right, now we'll move back to item 1. Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So this item is to consider revisions to the district's fats, oil, and grease program. This was first presented to the board on June 12th of this year at the request of the board after staff brought to their attention about some restaurants that we believe were having some issues with with grease in the system, particularly at the camp, which is the retail food campus located on Bristol Street. So after we told the board that the board wanted to talk about the FOG program in more details with some suggestions and recommendations. So on June 12th, our consultant, EEC Environmental, submitted several recommendations dated July 5th, which is also attached in your staff report tonight, and that was discussed in length on June 12th. I believe the board conceptually approved all those recommendations, and they directed staff to bring those proposed revisions to the FOG program tonight and direct staff to report back with the amended FOG program manual and FOG policies along with the FOG ordinance for final approval. So tonight what you're doing is you're approving the recommendations, and then we'll come back with all the documents for final adoption.
I have a question. Was that the study session we had in September?
Yes.
That was the final presentation?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was really well done and probably serves our purpose pretty well.
Yes, I think it's good to always reevaluate your policy and procedures and your manuals, and it was a while since we reviewed the FOG program, so it was time, it was due, so so thank you to the board for that suggestion.
Move approval.
I have one other question. Did you say Alan was going to look at this?
Well, Alan will help draft the ordinance and review the ordinance. We can also have a look at the manual and the policies. Definitely be involved
I think
in the
you
ordinance.
mentioned that at the meeting, earlier in the month. Okay, sorry, Bob. I'll second the motion.
We have a motion to approve the recommended action by Uten and second by Perry. Further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. Good work. Item 2 for Costa Mesa High School football.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gina Terriano will be giving this report.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, members of the board. Item 2 is a contribution application that was received by the district from the Costa Mesa High School football boosters, and they are requesting a contribution of $500 to $1,000 to hang a banner promoting a CMSD program in Mustangs Field. For the past 2 years, the district has contributed $500 to hang one banner in the stadium, and we have been promoting the organics recycling program. There is a picture of the banner attached to the staff report, if you could bring it up. And this year, there are 2 sponsorship options provided. So we can either do what we have been doing, which is 1 stadium banner for $500, or 2 banners, 1 in the stadium and 1 on the fence that's facing Arlington Drive, and that would be $1,000. So the recommendation is to approve the minimum sponsorship amount of $500, since the banner will have a high level of visibility within the field, as it has in the past. If the board would like to approve this sponsorship, the established purpose of the contribution would be to promote one of the district's programs, namely the solid waste programs. So this would advance our goal of recycling. And in regards to the banner artwork, we can continue using this artwork that you see up on the screen, or we could redesign the banner if you'd like to promote a different program. We could also promote our large item collection program, our new sewer inspection rebate program. We have our door-to-door HHW program and our FOG program. So we could also promote something else if you'd like to.
Do we have to make that, if there's a change, do we make our own banner and give it to them?
Yes. Yeah, we would
Do you have
design
a
it.
suggestion, if we're not going to go with this one, what would we do?
I agree. I like this one, but I could, I think if we were to do another program, the door-to-door HHW is probably another good
Because that's going
option.
to be a big program for us. It doesn't matter to me whatever the board wants, but
I'd like to see us do the organics for the simple reason that we've been trying to educate everybody and make them aware of the organics and about the different payoff for trash-wise and so forth. So I think this would be great to have it there for the parents or anybody.
The only question, oh, go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
We could have one mimicking or designed after this one, and then the other one to be, send another message. Wouldn't that be possible?
If we do the two, the $1,000.
Do the 1,000.
I like this banner, but I wouldn't mind seeing a banner that had both the HHW and this on it. I mean, you know, if we could come up with something like to get them both on there. But my question would be, it says 500 for a banner in the stadium and 1,000 if we wanted two.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to do the 500, can we request it to be on Arlington instead of in the football stadium? Wouldn't we get more mileage out of it being out on the road than just in the football stadium?
It depends how fast you go on Arlington, you know, to stop to see it. I mean,
I
that's,
drive the speed limit wherever I go,
that's
so
too
it's no
fast.
problem for me.
I'm just saying, you know, that's, the ones on the streets are tough to see because you're buzzing by.
Okay.
That's the only reason I like the idea in the stadium.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
that's just me.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Because the banners we put up for the fish fry, you know, I buzz by, I get to see it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I like the idea of two possibly,
Well,
but,
this will be bigger than a postage stamp, though.
oh, these are about the same size. Are these 3x5s?
I think so, yeah. 3x5.
These are the same as
Is
ours.
this an existing banner?
This is the one we had for the past 2 years. Mhm.
We're basically paying them $500 to continue to display the banner.
They do take them down during the summer, and depending how weathered they are, they'll remake it.
Yeah.
But essentially, yes.
They remake it or we have us remake it?
They make the physical banner, but we provide the artwork for it.
Oh, really?
So we design it.
At no cost to us?
Or the
It-
500.
yeah.
I mean,
I
it's
would
part
do
of the
it.
500, because
Yeah.
some people make you bring that new banner in, is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
yes. Mhm.
So they provide the artwork, I mean, we provide the artwork and they make the banner?
Yes.
Okay. That's a pretty good deal. And what is your recommendation, that $500 for one?
For the stadium banner, yes. Hmm.
Mr. President, if I can make one comment, please.
Sure.
As you know, back in September, we had a lot of discussion about the contribution program and how we really want to emphasize applicants to stress when they submit their application to identify the purpose and describe how that contribution will advance the district purpose, and the board directed staff to make sure we have a liaison person to help guide applicants through that process. Well, Gina is our liaison person, and she's the one to be guiding applicants.
So they submitted the proper paperwork?
Yeah, it looked like
They
it
did.
How much did we give the Estancia?
500.
The same?
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, we need a motion?
Yeah.
I'd like to make that motion. We, for $500.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second?
This is for the
Right.
And I would say next year maybe go with a different one.
Maybe, that's what I was thinking, Art. Next year we could switch it over to the HHW because it'll be underway and
Yeah.
it'll be a good reminder for people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on the item? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous, 5-0. Thank you, Gina. All right. Item 3, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. So the Independent Special Districts of Orange County, or ISDOC, is a member association that represents the interests and provides advocacy on behalf of Orange County's 25 independent special districts. They have a 7-member executive committee that guides the association in membership meetings, which those meetings are held on a quarterly basis, and it's a way to provide a forum for its special district members to meet and discuss issues and share information of mutual interest. The executive committee, they serve on 2-year terms, and so this year is they're having elections, and Secretary Arlene Schaefer has threw her name in the ring for second vice president. The nomination period was closed last Tuesday, and so now what is needed is a resolution adopting the candidacy of Secretary Arlene Schaefer, which is before you in your agenda. So if you approve adopting this resolution, we will submit this to ISDOC for in time for the elections.
I'm going to recommend that we approve. I'll make a motion to approve it. I think she's crazy, but I think I'll move to approve the resolution recommending that Secretary Schaefer serve on the ISDOC Executive Committee.
I'll second the motion.
Other discussion?
Just under discussion, I have to go anyway for CSDA,
Yeah,
so. you
might as
know,
well be there.
Yeah, so there's no difference.
Yeah, it was interesting that the entire executive committee has decided not to rerun.
Is that the president too?
Fissler's not running, Davert's not running. Sandra Jacobs, who's the current
President,
first vice president, is asking to move up to president, which we've I think decided to vote for.
Everett's not gonna run?
He didn't put his name in. He's jumped into LAFCO with both
Yeah.
feet. So I think that, and Mark Monin from El Toro,
Yeah.
I didn't see his name put up.
He's going to be first vice president.
Did he put his
Yeah.
name in for that?
He told me he was going to.
Okay, so,
Vector Control got a copy of his candidate papers
So Vector-
today.
so he did
Vector
it.
Control.
Okay.
They didn't vote him in, but it was on the table for the Vector Control members
Okay.
to show he was a candidate.
okay, very
So
good.
did we approve Sandra?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I don't think we ever did. I mean, I saw it go to you as president, but I
I
never
think,
We
I
haven't
think,
taken an
I think,
action
I
on-
think we did, I think.
No, the nominations aren't out yet. Right now, it's just accepting
It's
the
just
nomination.
nomination period, that's right.
released on the 21st.
That's right.
Then you take action on who you want to vote.
Okay.
Oh, so it's an electric one, you know, that we just, oh no, I'm
No,
thinking of it, CS.
Do we need to bring that to the study session or in the October board meeting?
In the October board meeting.
We have time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries very excitedly, unanimously. Okay, item 4 then, Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the board wanted to be kept in the loop on the discussions being made at the Citizens Advisory Committee. So our last meeting was on September 12th, and in your agenda packet is a meeting overview of what was discussed, as well as some points that were not on the agenda that is discussed. So that's just available for your information. There's no need to take action, just for your information, and happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. I think at the next Citizens Advice, when is the next one? October 11th? Whatever it is.
Second Wednesday.
I'm going to make sure that I attend if I can, and just remind the CAC that we're looking for their advice, and we're looking for them to look at programs. This interaction that happened between one of the members and Secretary Schaefer was totally uncalled for. And I wasn't there. I've gotten a report on what happened, and I think we just need to remind them that they're an advisory committee, and we're not going to rubber stamp everything they recommend to us as district policy. That's our job to do. But I will be there to just kind of make a few comments about, I know they're unhappy about our decision with the district voting, but ultimately it's our responsibility based on what our constituents elected us, not them. And so I'll be there to make those comments.
It's October 10th.
Thank you. Okay, just
Thank you.
just board president's opinion. Okay. It was, she shouldn't have had to go through that. There shouldn't be an interrogation or whatever that member was trying to do, so. Thank you for the report. I think we all appreciate that. Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Let's move to engineers report then. Rob?
Good evening, President Schaefer and board members. Recapping 3 projects real briefly. Phase 11 of our grade 5s that we're fixing. Phase 11 contract is being prepared, and then that will be the last phase of grade 5s based on the televising project district-wide. Secondly, Canyon Pump Station and Canyon Force Main project will be out to bid shortly. We discussed that here when we combined the projects to decrease the impact to the community. Lastly, we had bid opening on project 318, President Pump Station. We had bid opening on August 29th. The bids came in high, so we discussed it at staff level and with President Schaefer and decided to, instead of discussing it here tonight, because the bids were high, we were planned to discuss it with the board at the October study session and then bring it back for action at the October regular meeting. So what we're probably going to do for the study session is discuss alternatives and answer questions and give reasons for why the bids were high, what it entails, a few nice-looking exhibits. Be a thorough discussion.
Refresh my memory on this project. Is this the one where we're having the issues with the easement approval with the resident?
There's no issues with regard to approval. There, we have an easement, and there's some also prescriptive rights for pedestrians going through. But it is the property on President Place that does have the easement, and we're in that easement.
Okay.
This is not the one that Alan Burns was referring to as far as the person letting us get in their yard to clean the sewer.
I understand that, yeah. Okay.
Right. So we will have a nice staff report for the study session, and we'll show some exhibits and have a nice discussion.
Can I ask a question? Of course. Is there any reason to think that if we went back out in the marketplace that we could somehow get a better
No,
bid?
I don't believe so. I believe the bids will go up. I don't think the low bid will be $1.95 million. I've talked to that company. They're going to be $2.2 million. So the engineer's estimate originally was $1.45 million. The low bid was $1.95 million. So that's $500,000. And to rebid, we were going to recommend rejecting the bids tonight, but Scott just said we'll do that next month. So we will discuss why the bids were high and why they're going to be not what they are. If we rebid it, they'll be higher. And then we'll also discuss how we can achieve a satisfactory pump station for $1.5 million. So we will give you options as to that. And it'll be a good roundtable. It's not based on technical terms and understanding of those kinds of things. It's a general discussion.
Thank you.
How much time do we have to wait to accept a bid?
Well, it does say that we're supposed to do something in 30 days.
Is this going to pass the 30 days?
Yes. But I don't believe it's a problem. I've discussed it with the contractor, and we were hoping for some ability to maybe do some quick redesign now after he was low bid and reduce it down some more. But that didn't go over well at the staff meeting.
Well, there was a second part of this. Wasn't there a pretty substantial savings on the force main, the force main
Yes.
bids?
Yes, that because we drilled it, and that came in way low.
Way low meaning 200,000, 400,000, or?
I think 4 to 5.
Yeah.
But we're getting high. A $2 million pump station, that's pretty high for that location. But we'll go through it, and the contractor's okay. I've been speaking with him frequently, and we went over why he doesn't even like his own bid. So he went back and looked at it after he looked at the other bids, and he's hoping we would reject the bids. So that's the truth.
So we could still accept it?
We still could, but even he doesn't want to build it as is. he feels he underbid it after observing the other bids. But that doesn't mean that somebody might not come in at the same price because that's what won it the first time. But if it does come in at 2.2 million, that means the project budget will have to be increased by $640,000. So right now we have 2 million. We would need, and if for a $1.5 million station, 2 million covers everything. So it'll go to, we're going to have to add $640,000, and that's what the cost to the budget will be. Yes?
We have to pull our horns in on some other project that might help us financially.
That's part of the analysis that staff will be doing and coming back at the study session, is to where would we get that money? And should we go with the Cadillac of all stations, or use an alternate design that might be just as good? One of the real drivers here is the emergency storage vault that we need to give us 2 hours of response time before the water comes out of the ground. And that caused us to have to deepen the excavation. And we need to get it back up a little bit. Right now it's at 23 feet deep, which is nothing by our standards. We have almost 30 feet deep in some others. But in this location, that is a tough nut to crack. So it would be a long project. There would be so long that there might be let's put it this way, one contractor thought it might take him a year. So there's a lot of components, and they have to go in one by one. So that's part of the problem too. So we'll have some frank discussion on it, and either way we go, we'll be in fine shape.
Councilor?
And Mr. President, the issue at the staff level was, as you know, was the add deduct issue that we have to award to the lowest responsible bidder. And you can have add and deduct to establish who the lowest bidder is, but you have to put it in your bid specs. You can't do that after to try and get the bidder you want. So that was the hang up. So we can try and work through that when we relook at it.
We all appreciate everybody's diligence in getting it done. So, and it'll, like you said, Rob, I think everything will turn out the way it needs to turn out.
Right. I thought that we could open bids, and then if we thought the cost was too high, we could just negotiate with the low bidder right there and come down to what we want in a pump station and what we need to pay. But apparently we can't do that.
Well, Rob, do you think this item will take a long time on that study session?
Maybe 20 minutes, half hour.
We're just thinking, maybe short. I don't know what's planned for the study session, but maybe we want to probably focus on this one pretty good.
Yeah, it won't take that long. But you are wise, a very wise board. So it'll come clear from the factors we put up on the screen.
Anything else for us this evening?
That's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Any other questions for Rob?
Thank you.
It's good response.
Mark, anything for us on Treasurer's report this evening?
No items this evening, Mr. President.
Sir? Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have an ordinance to recover costs on when private property owners refuse access to Costa Mesa sanitary district facilities for you to consider tonight. And the manager and I have discussed this matter, and I think Scott would like to give you a little recap of what happened last year, and then I'll cover the law and what we're asking you to do with the ordinance.
Scott?
So back in April of this year, staff approached a property owner to request access to his backyard because we had a sewer easement in that backyard. And we needed access to get into the backyard so we can clean the sewer main and inspect the sewer main. So we approached the property owner, and the property owner said, no, you can't go back there. And we reiterated to him that we have a right to be on that property, but he said he didn't believe that we owned an easement in his backyard. So a couple days later, we went back to the property owner, and with staff was actually a letter from district counsel's office explaining our rights, and also have some map showing where our easement was located. And he still said no. And I also want to mention to the board that attending staff was our code enforcement officer, Ed Roberts, and then we also had Costa Mesa Police Department there, because the first time we approached him, he tended to be a little aggressive. He got pretty close to us. And so we had the police department just kind of sitting in their car, they couldn't see us, but they were sitting in their car just in case we needed them. So that was the second day. And so now that we knew he was not going to allow us on his property, then we went to Alan Burns and his staff and requested a warrant, an inspection warrant, which requires documentation, court documentation to be completed. The warrant actually had to be signed by staff in court, so that took a lot of time. Once it was approved by the judge, we had to post the warrant on the property owner's door to give him at least 24 hours notice that we're arriving. I think we gave him a few days notice. When we arrived, staff was there along with a code enforcement officer and the police department. Once he saw the warrant, he did let us on the property, and we did our job. Now, if he still refused, then the next option would obtain a forced entry warrant, and that could even be more expensive because he has a dog, and it was a large dog. And if he had a dog he had in his backyard, and he didn't retain a dog, we'd have to call animal control to control the dog. So there were some situations that we could have ran into if it was a forced entry warrant. Fortunately, he did accept it, but as you can see in the financial review, it cost us almost $5,000 to get in his backyard, and a lot of that was attorney costs for preparing the documents. There was a lot of time and effort to get into that. So that's almost $5,000 of taxpayers' money that we had to spend trying to get to our property, and we think that's not right. And so, working with district council, we drafted an ordinance for you to consider that if this happens again, we can recover our cost by placing the cost on the property tax roll. We presented the proposed ordinance to the Citizen Advisory Committee on September 12th. They did approve and recommend the board adopts the ordinance, but they also recommended staff sends courtesy notice to the property owners, letting them know ahead of time that we're coming. And if they don't allow us on the property, then you have to give us some kind of reason, some viable justification. Maybe it's because they're just not home, which is fine. But they just can't say, I don't want you in the backyard because I don't want you to. They got to have a viable reason. So that was their recommendations. So I'll turn it over to District Council Burns, and he'll talk about the legal side, and then we'll be available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Scott. Well, as you know, the Health and Safety Code allows us to be on private property to access our facilities and inspect our facilities, and that right is unrestricted in the Health and Safety Code, but of course every law is subject to the United States Constitution, and the United States Constitution adopts the English common law, which provides that a man's home is his castle, and there's this area around your home that if you fence it, it's called your curtilage. And that's the area that government can't go beyond without a warrant or exigent circumstances or something like that. So that's what this is all about. We have the right to go on there. They have the right to make us get a warrant, but we have the right to enact laws to protect our facilities, including fats and grease and things like that, maintaining your lateral. And this would be one of those laws that says you have a duty to allow us to have access to your property, subject to a reasonable notice. And if you fail to grant us that access and you compel us to go to court to get a warrant, that we can, using the procedure in the Health and Safety Code where we assess charges on the property owner's tax roll, we have the right to assess you for those court costs. So that's what this ordinance asks you to do. This is a very limited situation. It's probably not going to arise very often, but it happened in this case, and we try to shift all the costs for these kinds of things to those who cause the problems, whether they be dumping sewage, cement down at a sewer line or whatever they do, that they have to pay and make us whole. And this is one of those types of ordinances that would shift the cost to them to pay the cost of us getting access to our facilities.
This ordinance doesn't provide any timelines or notification procedures. This is just the ordinance allowing us to go in there. Are you going to come back to us with?
It does say reasonable notice.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a notice. The ordinance just allows us to recoup our costs. So it's different than it's not an inspection warrant. It's just allowing us to recoup our costs.
I guess what I'm asking is that are we going to come back with some kind of operations code that says here's what we're going to do? We do it with trash. Someone's in violation of the trash. We have a different notice for each thing that goes on the can. Are we going to do that for this kind of situation? Are we going to put in the operations code?
Sure.
We need to give you. We're going to give you reasonable notice, and then here are the next steps that we can do.
Yeah, we can do that. That'd be a separate ordinance, though. That'd be a different ordinance.
Is it an ordinance or is it just our code?
Well, if you're going to put an operations code, it's an ordinance. The code's the law.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you wanted that, then we have to come back with another ordinance.
You need to do that, Alan?
I think we're fine the way we are. I think we might want a policy or something like that, but we have to give reasonable notice, and there's a lot of judicial requirements that we give notice before we do anything. And everything has to be reasonable, and there has to be some attempt at notice, posting or something or another. So there's lots of protections built in, and we're going to overdo it with that because we don't want to have to go to court to get one of these warrants. This is, very burdensome.
Maybe I didn't phrase that question right, Scott. Are we going to have a policy for
Yes,
what we're going to do?
Yes.
Maybe that's what I was asking. All right.
Okay, Scott,
Yes.
how many properties do we have easements that are similar to this situation?
It's quite a few, and
That many?
yeah, it's quite a few. But since I've been here, it's the first time this ever happened.
We have a lot on Indus, don't we?
Absolutely. Very good, President Schaefer. Yes, we do have easements and pipes in easements, and we don't suffer as much as Orange County Sanitation District has in the past, but it can become hard to access the sewer. This disgruntled resident that this item is referring to seems to be the exception to every time we've gone into an easement. Our ratepayers are great. They're so nice, and they never complain until we're just really waking everybody up or something. So I think we're generally okay, but this allows you to not have to go through that again. So I am in favor of it too.
And my question is, the CAC recommended to send a notice to everybody that we have an easement with to let them know
Yes.
that was, okay.
Yes. So anytime we're planning to want to enter their property to clean the easement, we will send a notice like a week in advance saying, hey, we're going to be here this day between this time. If you have any objections, let us know.
Is that our policy right now?
No, it's not. I think right now they just show up, and we never had any issues. They showed up, knocked on the door, and people let us in. And that was discussed at the CAC.
But CAC didn't recommend that we do any kind of blanket letter or notice to everybody, say, hey, just so you have an easement.
No. It's just when we're ready to clean go into someone's backyard to clean or inspect. We pick a time when we're doing that. We give them a notice a week ahead of time.
Again, I think we do need to have some kind of policy that outlines the procedure.
Actually, on Indus, it's interesting. We don't have to go in a backyard of those people because we're down the system, and we put two hoses together, and we go 1,200 feet.
Yeah, I remember
So that's fortunate.
What's your thinking about this, Scott, their recommendation?
It's not a bad idea. I think it's good customer service. Yeah, it's good customer service, letting you know. I mean, you kind of put yourself in a resident's shoes. So if I'm in their shoes and I get a letter from my public agency, hey, I'm going to be there. Okay, that's very nice. So I think it's good customer
Do we
service.
have to add that somewhere into our policy?
Yeah, I'll have to look at our policies to see where to put it
Probably
in.
is a wise idea. It's just that doesn't really affect us as long as we know
Yeah.
what our game plan is for the next
If
couple
we have a
days.
standard letter, all we got to do is change the date and the address.
I have a question. So Being we do not have a policy right now, does that mean we're losing that money that you just talked about?
No, well, we lost his money in this one situation, yes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, in this situation, we did, yes. Yes.
So it is important to get something going.
I like that. Yeah, I like your comment about good customer service. I think that just puts it out there that we're, hey, we want to help you.
Right.
It reminds me when the city first got its helicopters, and people were complaining the helicopters were flying over, and they might be sunbathing in their backyards in a particular manner, and the city did something about it. They recognized who these people were and stopped flying over their houses. That's just good customer service. We should do the same.
We do have many more easements than the number of backyards that we have to get into to access the sewer mains.
What do you mean by that, Rob?
For instance, what I just mentioned about Indus, we have an easement and their sewer lateral comes out of the easement, but we don't have to go in their backyard.
Yeah.
Because we get it from one end to another, and we do at least 300 feet at a shot.
That's great.
So even though these might be in an easement, we're not in his backyard, his backyard, his backyard.
Okay.
Makes a big difference. Okay, then we need to take an action on this.
Yes, yes, please.
Move for approval?
Second.
Motion is second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. Good
Thank
work
you.
by everybody. Thank you.
This will probably discourage them from protesting if we tell them what we can do now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we can't retroactive this.
Well, we need to be there next year, too.
That's what I was getting at.
We'll send
That's
them a
right.
letter. Send them a letter up front.
Okay.
Mr. President, I did have two other items.
Yes, sir.
For the good of the order, on March 14th, 2018, the board sent a letter to the district attorney regarding the Luna prosecution. And remember, that's the prosecution where there was sewer dumping or debris dumping, and the citizens came to the aid of the district by confronting the person. And the district attorney in that case has advised that he will be filing that case next week, and there'll be a letter of arraignment for sometime in October.
Nice.
So we at least know that. We can be tracking it and see how that works its way through the district attorney's system.
Cool.
And also there was a Brown Act case that came down that was favorable to public agencies. It was Ribicoff versus Long Beach, and it upheld time limits, and especially in a hostile, volatile situation in which somebody refuses to yield the floor, and there's a lot of crosstalk over the presiding officer and the person speaking, and this court said those time limits are totally constitutional, and this is a limited public forum. The board needs to get its business done, and that's the Constitution can accept time limits under those circumstances.
So you're talking about time limits under a public
Speaker time
comments.
limits, yes, I'm sorry, yeah. That's all I had.
Thanks, Alan. Appreciate it.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
The dumping of the cement, did we incur a cost in that we might get reimbursed for? Oh, they did already? Okay.
All right, local meetings, Jim? Start off.
Well, we don't have Orange County Sand District meeting until tomorrow, or we'll see next week. Next week, so, but we did have an administration meeting this month, and it was just, it was very mundane, but they did renew the insurance contract that they have for about $11 million, and also they refinanced a revenue refunding certificate anticipation notes series 201A, and for about $110 million. So just chump change, and we're used to dealing with those kind of numbers every week.
Wow.
That's it.
I got an email, and I think Nolani, or maybe all of you got the email about the open house in October, the Sand District's open house.
Yeah.
Or
In the Fountain Valley.
yeah,
I didn't get that.
I got an email from. So I went. It was on this email too. So I went ahead and reserved. I don't know if Nolani needs to do that as a block, but I registered.
What was the date?
myself.
Do you remember the date?
October 19th, I believe.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, I won't be in attendance. I won't be able to go.
It's always, I look forward to that meeting.
No, I do too. That was
They do a
great.
job.
It's a
Yeah.
good
They always
one.
give us a cute little trinket, so.
Yeah, tell Monali I can't make it.
Friday.
Friday the 19th, yeah.
October 19th.
You know, guys, I'm gonna be on a vacation I'm gonna miss the next board meeting in October.
Another vacation?
First one in like 5 years.
October, it is,
Leaving the
it's
15th.
from 8 until 10
On October
Oh,
19th.
8 to 10 in the morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
at the
Mile Square Golf
Mile
Course.
Square,
Oh,
I'll be there the day before.
What time?
8 o'clock.
8 till 10, I believe.
Actually, they did a really good job last year.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, it's very well done, very well done.
I didn't get anything.
I figured. Sarfa, Art?
That's next week also, next Thursday.
ISDOC, we had our executive committee meeting earlier in the month. We had, interesting under public comments, I had mentioned last month, I think, that the board member from Yorba Linda, whose name is Al, and I don't know his last name, and I apologize, he is still very angry over the adopted LAFCO dues schedule. He thinks that Orange County Water District and Irvine Ranch and Santa Margarita don't pay enough, and he was pretty charged up. ISDOC Legal is still looking at the LAFCO dues, but this guy was pretty fired up, wasn't he, about how unfair the dues are, so more to come on that. Kelly was there talking about ISDOC representation to the operating area executive board. I think we had mentioned this before where, yeah, that's the dues. Oh, yeah, I have that chart.
Oh, okay.
ISDOC is it was recommended that ISDOC have representation on the OA board because there are very few districts that come under WEROC. So that was recommended, and Kelly's taking that back to the operating area executive board. And it was recommended that the ISDOC representative on the OA board be a staff person and not an elected. Doug Davert made a really good point. He says staff is far more attuned to what needs to be done on the emergency situation. So I think we'll probably be looking at that next month. Under the LAFCO report, Doug talked about San Juan Capistrano is apparently still looking for a special district to take over their water and waste system. They want out of the business. And I think Santa Margarita is going to be a big player in that.
IRWD.
I don't remember IRWD saying anything, but is there any interest in this board on taking over the San Juan Capistrano wastewater?
You have to be contiguous with it, I think, in order to do it.
Anyway, so
that may be the reason IRWD isn't doing it.
That's what yeah, you're probably right. But that's a big subject. And I did want to report to you that under the CSDA report, Bill Nelson informed us all that we can get a commercial credit card through Umpqua Bank. I don't know how big Umpqua Bank is, and I think it's based in Sacramento, but you may be familiar with Umpqua. No? So.
It's a commercial.
Oh, commercial card services.
Yeah.
Because CSDA is turning all their stuff over to them or something. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was it for ISDOC, basically.
I got a couple.
I'll get to you. Arlene's next for CSDA.
You're working your way around?
Yeah, as they normally do.
Okay, so, I'm sitting on the Government Affairs Committee for the Chamber of Commerce. I've been sitting on it, and it's a very interesting committee because it's made up of developers, legislators, and we go around the room and kind of talk, at the table as far as what's going on. The outstanding one was, we're talking about the traffic for the Orange County Fair. Kevin Coleman, I don't know if you...
I know.
Okay, he's a developer. he's the chair of this committee, and he's involved with the fairgrounds itself. So they said that they're going to have to do something about the traffic as far as before the next fair, because Kathy, who is the manager, CEO, is very upset of what's been happening, and the city's upset, and it's also the freeway, and it's just a mess, because, they had 1,400,000 people, that came through the gates, and they didn't have parking, and anyway, it was a big mess. And then also, they talked about a yes on gas tax, Prop 6, which is on the ballot, but they felt real strong on that. And, the rest is just,
Yeah.
I
Can you brighten us a little bit, what that means? Maybe pay more taxes?
We're paying it for it now. That Prop 6 is to repeal
okay, I'm in.
the gas tax.
yeah.
Okay.
Or if I
Okay.
remember
Yes, no,
correctly.
that's right.
Okay, to repeal it, okay.
Yeah, that's what they wanted to do.
I like that.
Absolutely.
So that's on the ballot, huh?
Uh-huh. So that's good. And I think Mike pretty much said all on ISDOC, which I attended and talked about CSDA on that. And then I went to the CSDA board meeting. That was, this is not the one from it, but it was in September 30th, 31st. And
That would be August 30th and 31st. We haven't hit September 30th.
This is September now.
okay, that's right. Moving right along. Okay, yeah.
Moving
Anyway, we went to
forward.
that, and we hadn't seen each other for a long time, and it was a real good meeting, but it was way too long, and I had all the information. Yeah, see, it's August, you're right. Okay, so, and then I went to the Local Agency Formation Commission, which I think we talked about already, that our president gave something to John as a going-away gift, and there was a trash truck with all our names on it, and it just was so outstanding. It just brought down the house. Everybody, it couldn't be, done.
John
better.
John also called me to thank me again for us doing that. And
Yeah,
he was impressed.
Talk about unusual. They all said that. Okay, then also CSDA is doing a video, a contest they do every year, and it's for any children, teenagers, or somebody who wants to make up a video of special districts, and what special districts is to them, and they get $2,000 if they win. And we have this contest every year.
Orange County Sand District has something similar to that.
You might mention it tomorrow at the liaison meeting for the school, if there's a school district coming tomorrow. Just a thought, if you want to,
That's a great idea.
because that would be the group that would be doing it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good idea. And then, of course, the timeline for the election for independent special districts was September 18th, and then 21st is when the ballots are sent out, and mail and email, and then October 23rd will be the ballots are due, and then October 25th is the names are announced in the ISDOC quarterly meeting. So that's done then. And we all made the ethics harassment training. So are we getting some kind of award for it? Oh, another one. Okay, good. Yeah, because that was neat.
Arlene.
We have to thank Bob for that.
Yeah, Bob finally did his.
Oh, yay, Bob. Thank you, thank you.
Well, I was
That's
having
good.
trouble with, not being ethical, so I decided to do it.
Oh, well, now you're a team player. That's good. So, okay.
And I didn't want to take time at the conference to do it.
Ah, well, that's good. And the other thing was, where is it? The city has new county, let's see, what is it? The city of Costa Mesa has unified, it's unveiled new maps for the fire and for the police. And I was wondering if we could get hold of that. Yeah. From fire and the police. Yeah, there was an article in the paper about it.
I think it's their incident report, new maps with incident reports on it.
So it was an opportunity for enabling residents to be able to see the
See
new
where
maps
things are
and-
happening.
Yeah. And I just thought that would be interesting to have something like that to see. And that's it. Thank you.
SDRMA, I'll just tell you that we had our board meeting, and really the big thing was the board has selected a new CEO. We've made an offer to her, and she accepted. Name is Laura Gill, and you'll meet Laura next week. We're going to announce her at the Wednesday morning special breakfast that SDRMA does. Laura, pretty accomplished. She's I think I've even told you before, she's the former city manager for Elk Grove, graduate of Duke University and someplace else, and very accomplished. I think she'll do a good job. There are a lot of things going on with SDRMA that we're learning from the former CEO. We're learning some lessons, things that happened, and so we're gonna try and iron that. One thing, Scott, I'll ask you, and maybe you can pass this on to Diana or whoever's going to do it. I'd gotten a copy of our property liability bill for this year, and one of the things that concerns me as a risk management person is under our property part of the policy with this, the boiler machinery and all that, it says that we have 23 reported items including contents valued at $12,671 some odd dollars. If it's not a ton of work, I would like to see what that inventory of 23 items is. And it doesn't have to be line by line. Just give me, like we have 18 generators. Or if I could see that, I need to do some work with SDRMA. I think we're missing the boat on some things. And knowing what my own district has would be very helpful to me, if you don't mind. And there's absolutely we don't meet until November, so no rush whatsoever, just whenever you have nothing else to do. Okay. Other meetings, Bob?
I went to the Orange County Sand District Operations Committee meeting, and they discussed mainly projects like the Bay Bridge pump station relocation and some sewer transfer and big collection projects that they have. I went to the Waco meeting, and it was I think it was John Kennedy that did the meeting, and he basically outlined where the various water sources for Orange County were. And pretty high percentage was the groundwater replenishment system water, and it's also very high quality water, only a couple hundred milligram per liter of total dissolved salts. And so that helps the basin, keep the salt level down for the water that's pumped out of it. They get some water, of course, around from MWD in various locations. But the interesting thing was they have two sources of Santa Ana River water, and so they're working with Prado Dam. And Prado Dam is in various phases of construction, and so they get a pretty substantial percentage of water, or high in my opinion, 17-18% from the Santa Ana River, because of the water that's stored behind it, and that has a potential to increase. And then they get also quite a lot of water from the sewage treatment plants. My daughter's a director on the Inland Empire Utilities District, and they just got a $225 million grant to try to figure out how to better recycle their water in their community. But the Water Master has has historically, or has the responsibility to determine how much of that sewage effluent does get, pretty highly treated sewage effluent does get into the river and down the river, and or for Orange County purposes and for species purposes and whatnot. So I thought it was an interesting. It's a very technical presentation, so I thought it was fabulous.
That was one of the best ones I've ever seen.
It was a good Waco meeting.
Yeah.
It was worth sticking around for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the name first.
Any other meetings? Okay, director comments. I have to make a confession to you guys, and I hope it didn't turn into some. One of my buddies who lives in Newport Beach had a private SSO of his own, and it had to do with his plug lateral, right? And he was upset because Roto-Rooter told him it would be $79 to come out and fix his problem. And I said, Dennis, that's the service call. Ended up costing him $1,800 to have his lateral relined. Then they came back out and televised it after he had it done, and there's still roots in there. The line, I mean, they just completely botched the whole job. He's looking at probably, he said, I thought he said $17,000, which can't be true. And I said, gee, Dennis, I said, our district, we have a program where we do that for the residents at no charge. And so he may be going to the city of Newport Beach to raise a little fur. So if you guys get some calls about our program, it's my fault, and I apologize. Rob?
Yes, a couple of questions, please. So that residence is in Newport Beach, but not in our service district, right?
Yes. Knowing this guy, he's too wealthy to live in our service area. Let's put it that way, okay?
Well, also, Newport Beach does take care of the lateral, the lower lateral, from the property line to the main. So if that's where he screwed up, he shouldn't have fixed that in the first place.
I didn't know that. Okay, I'll let him know that.
All you have to do as a resident to have the city take care of the lower lateral is put a clean out in the right of way. You put a clean out in there, they do hire plumbers, and they have the small equipment that goes in there. So usually people hate us because we don't fix the lateral on the street for free.
Right.
So they're always getting on our case about that.
Well, anyway, I just didn't want you guys to take a bunch of heat. It's my fault. So
Live in the heat.
knowing Dennis, he will follow through. Go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know, I went to Paris. I went to Paris, not France. And on the tour Friday, and Gina conducted it. It was absolutely fantastic. There were 14 of us. And, you know, if you haven't been out there for a very long time, I'll tell you, it is so impressive. I can't explain it to you. I mean, we went on a bus, and everything just was bang, 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 and it was just so perfect. It was just incredible. And they showed us all around it. People that went on the tour were so impressed with it. There were a lot of engineers that went on a tour, and they were very smart as far as the questions they asked. And it was fantastic, you know, to see what they have done to that place since we've been there, when they said, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and it all really happened.
And which one was this?
The tour.
Paris. CR&R plant.
CR&R plant.
Yeah.
It was just
Really sharp, Jimmy.
Well, I don't have to remind the people sitting up here, but I know I'd like to remind everybody in the audience that the fish fry, the 71st Fish Fry, Costa Mesa Newport Harbor Lions Club takes place starting tomorrow, 5 o'clock, goes till Sunday about 8 o'clock.
Non-stop. All night long.
That's right. That's right. And we've got a whole lot of fun stuff, good food, and you'll enjoy yourself, so stop by and say hello.
Is it still at Fairview Park?
Yes.
Yes.
You know, we're even, our sanitary district's gonna be there.
Yeah, we have a booth Saturday and Sunday.
So that's.
With that all
gonna be-
staffed, everything's good?
So we'll have to come by and say hi.
You probably won't be in the same location you were last year.
Bring your walking shoes because parking will be it'll be more severely limited.
Well, we do have those shuttle golf
Yeah.
carts
Yeah.
from the Estancia parking lot to the Fairview.
Yeah.
What Bob's talking about is Friday night, there's a football game at Estancia and a volleyball game, so they're not going to let us park in that lot, first lot. We can use the railroad and behind the school, but
But we'll still have some golf carts
yeah,
on this side.
we have 3 golf carts
This
to take
side,
in handicapped or needy riders in.
I think they're going to be around the Estancia tennis court.
Yeah,
lot.
that's where there'll be the
If
station.
you're in a remote lot, you have to get at least to that point before, then it can be shuttled in.
We have a older group from this Bethesda baseball team. It's a private school, but they're going to be assisting in that. So Cisco Rios is the
Yeah.
new coach, you know? Okay. I think it'd be pretty good. We'll see what happens.
Anything else? All right. See most of you next week in